All right, we're back. Feels like it's been quite a bit of a break because Dustin took over last week. We're thankful for that. So every third week of every month going forward, Dustin will be championing this Inside Gateway from afar in Illinois. But we are back in Indiana. We are on campus with Dan Sparling, our foster care program manager. Is that how we say it?
Okay. Yes, it is.
I interviewed him a year ago. So we might ask the same questions or we might just completely different because obviously a year at Gateway seems longer than just a normal year, right?
Yeah, it's been at times a crazy winding road, and at times it's been challenging, but overall I'm so excited to be here. It's been professionally the best year of my life.
Great. And just to remind us, you were coming from DCS?
I was
Okay.
coming from DCS.
So how working at Gateway, and then you obviously deal with some DCS and some of the kind of state, what would you call DCS? Is it state level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the State Child Welfare Agency.
Okay. So dealing with them and working for them, how has your perspective changed, or kind of just your viewpoint of the system, I guess?
Yeah, I guess working at DCS, you can see the flaws in the system. You're in it every day. The one thing I didn't realize is how flawed the system is from a foster care perspective, and some of the real challenges that foster parents have. I thought I knew, and then I talked to foster parents who live and breathe it every day, and I learned so much about just their challenges and their struggles day to day, that some things that I knew about and some things I really didn't know about. So it was a great learning process to work with these foster families.
Wow, yeah, no, that's very good. And I think it probably working at DCS has definitely helped you in this position a lot, right? Because you had that kind of perspective, you had kind of an idea what was broken, so then you can kind of help better Gateway, right?
Absolutely. I think the two things that really helped me coming from DCS, one was just a knowledge of how DCS operates. And unless you're working in it every day, it's really hard to understand. I like to say sometimes DCS speaks in a different language. And so for our foster families, I've been able to kind of translate some things for them. The other real advantage that I had is the relationships that I have at DCS. And those have helped us, just as a program, jump some hurdles, get through some barriers that we had, and have really set us up in a good position relationally with DCS to have better outcomes for the kids we serve.
Yeah, very good. So we're at the end of May here. It is Foster Care Awareness Month, or National Foster Care Month, however you want to say it. How has this month been compared to the first month? Because you came in May, right?
I came in April last year.
Okay, so
yeah.
You've gone through 2 foster care months. How has it been for you? Was it obviously maybe different because you first started compared to a year later?
Yeah, this month has been probably the busiest month I've had at Gateway. I've done a lot of recruitment this month, put in some extra hours to try to find new foster homes. And that has been a great experience, working with some local churches to really identify good foster homes for our kids. And, you know, I think a year's of perspective has given me a much deeper appreciation for foster families. And so, you know, last year, you know, we give our foster families a gift, and I wrote some thank you cards, and they were very generic, I feel like, because I didn't know these families very well. This year I've gotten to see kind of the roller coaster ride that some of our families have been on, and I've gotten to walk through that with them and have that relationship with them. So it gave me a really good perspective to really appreciate them at a whole nother level than I was a year ago.
Very good. As always, if there's questions from the field, I know we're a little early today, but please let us know. All right, so Dan, that's really great. Just, I think with anything, relationships take time, and so when you start to buy in and invest in those families, I think it makes your job probably that much more rewarding, and maybe, I wouldn't say easier, but just, I guess, enjoyable.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more enjoyable, a lot more rewarding when you can first place a child in a home and have a relationship with the foster family and kind of see the peaks and the valleys along the way to where that placement ends, and then help a foster family reflect back. A lot of times foster families can focus on the valleys, and so being able to help reflect back to the peaks and the really good things that happened has been really, really great.
Oh, that's great. So unpack, you said this month has been your busiest month, but kind of what's a day in the life of Dan Sparling?
A day in the life. It looks different every single day. So, May is not just Foster Care Appreciation Month. It's also the month that we work on our program budgets. So this month has been busy. So, just to kind of walk you through my day today, I had a meeting with Ed this morning. We talked about some budget things and talked about some ways to expand our program. And then I had a conference call with DCS. Now I'm doing this. After this, I'm going to meet with a church that we've been partnering with in some various ways. And then after that, I'm doing a foster parent training. So all of that while managing all of the placement referrals that we get day to day. We get probably 10 to 15 requests for placement a day.
Wow.
So managing all of those things. And still being there for the case managers when they just need some help or guidance. So it's definitely a busy job, but I wouldn't trade it. It's been a blessing to be here.
So that's amazing. So what is kind of one of your favorite parts of your job then? It seems like you're dealing with people a lot. I mean, whether it's through DCS, internally, externally.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you energy?
I really like investing in people. That's a passion of mine. So when I have a chance to, this afternoon I'm doing a foster parent training. It's one of my favorite parts of my job is to be able to invest in our foster families, invest in our staff, make sure that they have everything that they need. The Bible talks a lot about equipping people for their calling. And I'm really passionate about equipping people for their calling. And if I could pick one thing that really gives me energy, it's just equipping people for what God has called them to do.
That's great. So, equipping, empowering, just giving them the tools that they need to be more confident and just have better job satisfaction and just better self-awareness of who we are.
Absolutely.
Because one thing I've learned myself, it's like I could run myself ragged as a dad, as a husband, as an employee, but if I'm not investing in myself, whether it's self-care or just spiritual care, just like taking care of my soul, I'm not going to last. I'm going to get burnout and I'm going to become jaded. So how do you invest in your caseworkers or your families to make sure they don't get to a point where they're burnout?
Yeah, I pray. I have a list of foster families, and so every day I'm praying for foster families. That it's just part of my day that I love to do. We do trainings. One of the things I really believe in is if we can increase people's competence, you can increase their confidence, and then their stress level can go down. And so, one of the first things that we did when I came on board is we went out to the foster parents and said, what areas do you feel like you want trained on, that you want to increase your competence and your knowledge? And so we've designed a training calendar this year specifically to meet those needs, and we're going to continue to do that. I encourage our foster families, take a break, invest in your marriage relationship, invest in your spiritual relationship with God. Those are absolutely foundational. Those two are the most important relationships in our lives. And so if those aren't in a healthy place, then everything else can crumble very quickly. So I always encourage people to invest in those two relationships. For our case managers, one of the things that we did early on when I came on is we created an on-call schedule so that our case managers can have some weekends off to spend with their family and just rest. Rest is so important. Tomorrow I'm taking all of the foster care team out for lunch just to say, hey, I really appreciate what you guys do. Sometimes it's just little things. One of the things I also really believe in is you have to speak in people's languages. So appreciating people, sometimes that's a gift, sometimes it's a word of encouragement, sometimes it's spending a little extra time with them. You have to be able to appreciate people in a way that really will resonate with them.
Yeah, I mean, the love language, and we think of that a lot of times just in a marriage, but no, it's in a working relationship. It's in a father and son or father and daughter relationship as well. It's like we all have ways that our soul and our bodies yearn for that connection. And I can speak to you in one way, Dan, but if it's not connecting to you, it's not doing any good. But
Absolutely.
if I'm connecting with you in a way that I know you resonate with, you're more empowered, I'm more empowered in that relationship.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what are some of the greatest needs for foster care, and how can people support you and the families and the caseworkers?
Yeah, the first thing is praying. I can't say it enough. Our foster families, our foster kids, they need your prayers. They need people who will fight the spiritual battles on their behalf. We also have a massive shortage of foster homes right now, to the point where roughly 2/3 of the kids in Indiana have to be placed outside of their community because there's just such a shortage of foster homes. We want to see that number change a lot, and having foster homes for kids who are coming out of residential placements like Gateway Woods is really important. These kids work really hard in residential placements to get stable, to get to a place where they can function in a family setting. Sometimes they're the hardest kids then to place because of their background. But the kids, especially at Gateway, our kids on campus make some real life changes while they're here. You've been a house parent, you've seen those things. The next step then is to find those foster homes who will invest in them and help them continue down the path that God has set before them. It's such a need right now, and Allen County has the highest percentage of kids in those residential placements right now. And these kids, when they leave, they need homes that will support them and love them and continue to invest in them. And so those are some of the biggest needs we have right now.
Very good. So how does one become licensed under Gateway and become a foster home?
Yeah, so the first step is just giving me a call.
Okay.
Even if you're not sure and you're kind of saying, I don't know if this foster care thing is for me or not, give me a call. I'm not going to pressure anybody. I'm not going to try to force anything. I just, if you have questions, I just want to be able to talk to you. I think there's some misconceptions about foster care sometimes and what it really looks like. And so if I can help bring clarity to help bring a good decision, I will. The last thing we want to do is license a home that may not be a good fit. Maybe you really care about foster care, but being a foster parent right now in your stage of life isn't the right step. Maybe there's another way you can support our ministry. So just talking to me, bringing those questions is great. After that, we'll send you some paperwork if you decide to get licensed. We do 4 face-to-face visits in your home. We will do all of the training up front with you, all the pre-service training. There's 10 hours, and we provide that all. We can provide that here in Leo, or if you're in the Bluffton area, we can provide it in Bluffton. We have locations there that we provide that training. And then we submit a home study, and as soon as it's approved, then we can start placing kids in your home.
What's your phone number? I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, my phone number is 376-1720.
No, that's really good. And so I've heard too, it's like, obviously with Gateway we work with Christian families. That's very important to not only our mission and values, but just for the nature of foster care and just the importance of investing in the kid, not only physically but spiritually for the kids. What are some other things that the state requires? Like, do you have to have an extra room, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you have to have 50 square feet of bedroom space per foster child, which isn't a lot of space. So if you have a 10 by 10 room, that you could potentially put 2 foster kids in that room. They each need a bed, and if there's not a closet in the room, just somewhere to store their belongings. And as far as space-wise, that's the only thing that's really required. There are some other small things, we have to have fire extinguishers and smoke detectors and things like that to make sure that the home is safe. There will be background checks. You'll have to get CPR, first aid certified. We reimburse for the entire cost. Anything out of pocket, they have to pay for those special trainings or background checks. So really, financially, it doesn't cost anything to get licensed as a foster family.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's smaller than I was thinking, because that's one of the limits of our situation right now is with the 4 boys that we have. As our house isn't big enough, and maybe foster care would be down the road, but unfortunately, conflict of interest, we would have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Gateway. It is what it is. So what is something else that you've learned in this past year that's just been empowering to you individually or just in this job?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've really learned is just how God can really use people's gifts to impact people. Gateway Woods is such a great organization, and even folks who don't work directly with kids, and Nicole is going to be mad at me, but I'm going to just use her as an example. She doesn't work directly with the kids. She doesn't work directly with the families. She does everything behind the scenes, and I've learned so much from her just about being willing to let God use you the way He designed you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you're out there and you think, I couldn't be a foster parent, it's not for me. Think about how God has gifted you, and He can still use you to impact kids, even if you never see them or work directly with them. That's been a real area of just kind of it sounds obvious, but when you work in a ministry, it takes a lot to make things go. And so that's kind of been a real area of growth for me is, I've learned a lot about how God has made me and how God has gifted me over the past year. When I started this job, I didn't want to do the foster parent trainings. And then I started doing them, and I thought, wow, like God has really equipped me to do this. And now it's my favorite part of the job. So it's really cool how God just designs us for a specific role.
Amen. One of my job descriptions was writing. I don't like to write, so God brought Emily into the equation.
Yeah.
She's a strong writer. I love that we can all have our gifts, use them to the best we can, and be stretched too, because we want to keep growing, we want to keep becoming more equipped or better equipped, and that's not always refining the same skills that we have, but learning new ones as well.
Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to share? I guess we never really talked about your family, so your wife Lydia and then Isaac, your son.
Isaac, yeah.
So how have they, from the outside looking into Gateway, because they're not here day to day, what is their perspective on what you do? And kind
Yeah, from my wife's perspective, I think if you asked her the biggest difference of where I am now than as to where I was when I worked at DCS is she would say I'm a lot healthier. It makes a big difference when you're working in a ministry setting. One of the reasons that I felt the need to leave DCS is because I didn't get any spiritual support there. Mm-hmm. And when you're working with kids who have the level of trauma that these kids do, and you don't have the spiritual support, you get burnt out really quick. So I think my wife would just say she's really thankful that I'm in a much healthier place, and that I'm getting the spiritual support that I need to continue to do what God called me to do.
And not just because you're walking the dog every day.
Exactly. Isaac, he loves coming to Gateway. He'll come here after school sometimes and just sit in my office and talk to me. I've actually seen a lot of growth in him just from being exposed to the Gateway culture. And he hasn't had a ton of exposure here. A lot of the employees probably haven't met him and don't know who he is. But it's really funny to just hear him. He was here just last week with me for a little bit, and just to hear him say, "Dad, how can I pray for foster families?" Or, "Dad, what can I do for some kids who are in foster care?" It's just, it's really cool to see him. In the little amount that he's been exposed here, really grow spiritually, and try to find practical ways to do things even at his young age.
How old is he?
He's 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so him and Josiah are the same age, our oldest, and it's really neat to kind of see kids and their hearts enlarge. We just posted about Rin, one of the house parent kids, and just the photo is Carla holding her. I think it was maybe yesterday that we posted it, but it was from a couple weeks ago when they transitioned from living on campus as lead house parents to moving back to one of the homes in Grable as alternate house parents. And Ren is just weeping. And she's not weeping because she's like having a tantrum or anything. It's generally sorrow because she just enjoyed living on campus and being invested fully in what Gateway offers. And so it really kind of touches me. And then oftentimes my boys will say, "Hey, when can we be house parents again?" Or kind of that. They want to move back. And I'm just like, man, I understand that. And it's just, I don't know. But it's just like, it's awesome though to see the heart of a child. And it can teach us a lot.
Yeah, it can. And just a little exposure to ministry has such a big impact on these kids' hearts. It's amazing.
Yeah. So anything else you'd like to share?
I just want to say a huge thank you to all our foster families. I can't thank them enough for what they do. It's not easy what they do on a day-to-day basis. Like I said before, I see the peaks and valleys, and I think we have the best foster families in the state. Because they're so invested, and I can truly say, sitting here a year later, I can see the spiritual impact that our foster families have had on the kids who've been placed with them, and it's truly amazing.
Well, thanks, Dan. I've enjoyed it, and God bless you on the rest of your day, full of meetings and trainings, and just everything that you do here. We just appreciate it. Just your energy, your passion, and your commitment, not only to your family, to your faith, but to this ministry. So thankful again for watching, and next week would be June, so we're diving right into more interviews. Not exactly sure who's next week. I think it might be Cooper Beer, our volunteer coordinator. So a couple things that you can be doing, obviously praying for foster families, praying for yourself if you would want to become a foster family. Summer is here, so volunteering is a big thing. We still have some openings specifically in house parenting and a need for Willowbridge as well. So please contact us, please pray, and thanks for watching and listening.